Brazil has just elected or re-elected Lula da Silva, a communist. Which way is this going to go, do you think, James?
Well, as a communist, I'm surprised he doesn't apply to be on Boris Johnson's old SAGE committee because he actually had a communist advising him. So there might be an opening on that soon. It was a very close election, right? Just basically 51-49 or just under 51. So Bolsonaro or whatever his name is did surprisingly well. Yeah, it's a bit worrying, South America. You can see in Chile they tried to rewrite the constitution in a basically way that the Communist Party there liked it. At least in the referendum there it lost. One of the great things about Australia is we can't change our constitution without a referendum where everyone gets a vote. If we had a Canadian-style constitution where it was up to the politicians, we would be a republic. We'd have a voice already in there. You know, the only thing that puts a limit on these people is the fact we all get a vote. And that's another thing about Dutton. He better come out soon against The Voice because there are going to be an awful lot of angry people. He's just humming and hawing too much.
Yeah.
You know, this is a principle-based thing. There's no way you should have a race-based distinction in an Australian constitution for how many says you get, how many votes you get, how much influence you have. So I'm expecting him to come out against that soon.
Well, and just quickly before you go, because I want to get your expert opinion on this, but speaking of having voices, there was a lot of extrajudiciary commentary about the Bruce Lerman rape trial last week. Do you think the presumption of innocence is dying these days?
Look, you know, you don't want to say anything that undermines the right to a fair trial. But having said that, we were in this situation would never have happened in Canada. I'm a Canadian and British trained lawyer. And so before the actual trial, the supposed victim, the complainant, gets invited to the press club. She gets made a senior visiting fellow at the ANU Women's Global, and Julie Gillard gushes all over her. And, you know, journalist Wynne Logie's taking sides. And most disgracefully of all, I have to say, former Prime Minister Morrison gives an apology, I think it was on the floor of Parliament. You know, this is it. You're in the business in sort of elevating the credibility of one of the parties. This is in breach of the presumption of innocence. I don't know what these people think they're doing, but even in Canada, which is more left-wing and more woke here by far, people wouldn't do that because they understand the presumption of innocence. And here it seems like it's being sold down the river. This guy, I don't know how they retry him in February. I know they're going to, but I just don't see how he gets a fair trial.
Yeah,
it seems to me that they have so poisoned the water on this. It's disgraceful.
It is. The presumption of innocence should be sacrosanct. And it's alarming for you to say that we're worse than Canada. I know you are Canadian.
On the presumption of innocence.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't seem to exist here amongst a lot of the elite.